Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to another episode of Black Girl Creative. Yay! My name's Alicia Renice, and I am so happy that you're here. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. If you're not doing well, I hope by the end of this episode, you'll feel a little better, a little more free, a little more creative. Life is hard, y'all. Times are hard. Things are heavy. And so I just want to make room for you. Like, if you don't feel okay, it's also okay to not be okay. Don't force yourself to be anything that you're not. But I do want to come on this episode today to share some things that I've been journaling and thinking about. As a creative, I have done it all. I've read all the books, taken all the classes, all the courses, all the webinars, the programs, right? I've signed up for classes in my community college. Like, I've done all the things, right? Trying to find this magical thing, this magical pill, this magical formula, something that will guarantee me success, something that will guarantee me creative success. But after I've done all those things, I've realized that all this advice that I'm taking in is beautiful and beneficial, but it's not exhaustive. And sometimes the advice that I've taken contradicts itself, and there's no formula, there's no magic pill, there's no cheat code, there's only life. There's only life. What works for one person may work for them. What works for you might work for you. How did I even get here? So, morning pages. Julia Cameron wrote a book called The Artist's Way. I love this book. Love Julia Cameron, love everything she stands for. But one of the things that she pushes for every artist to do on this journey, this 12-week journey, is to do morning pages every day. And so what are morning pages? You wake up in the morning and you just write. Pen to paper, immediately write. So you're dumping all your thoughts. You're doing a stream of consciousness, like just random thoughts that pop up, even like, oh, I don't want to do this, but I'm here doing it anyway. And she says that this, helps you get into your creative rhythm, your creative flow, I should say. Get the gunk out of your mind so that you can get to creating. So the first couple of days I did it and I was like, okay, like this is cool. But by day 3, I'm exhausted. I don't want to do it anymore. And it's not resistance. Maybe it is resistance. I don't know. But it didn't feel beneficial to me on day 3. And I thought that something was wrong with me. I thought, oh, well, I'm not doing this right, or I'm going to be punished. It just felt like I was failing. It felt like I had an assignment every morning. And when I failed to do it, I was no longer a good creative. And it never occurred to me that, Alicia, maybe this just doesn't work for you. Maybe this is just not a part of your process. Maybe this is good for Julia Cameron. And she says she's never missed a day. She's been writing morning pages every day for years, right? What I found was that when I did morning pages, when I forced myself to do it, I was exhausted. I used all of my energy pushing through in the morning pages. And then afterwards, I had nothing left. I didn't want to write anything because sometimes I wake up in the morning with a song on my heart or a poem or an essay to write, right? Just like a prompt, just something really short and sweet. And I have to get up on it and record it right then and there, right? But when I would do morning pages, I'm like, well, I got to do my morning pages first and then I'll get to my art. But for me, I needed to get immediately to my art. Like that's how I flow. And I realized that when I was doing the morning pages, it was an act of creativity. Like when I was journaling and writing, I was creating something, much like I would a song or, again, a short story or a poem or a video, something like that. Like that's what those morning pages felt like to me. But by day 3, and sometimes even, let me be fair, sometimes it's day 2. The first day I wake up like, yes, we're going to do this. I'm so energized. I'm so inspired. And then day 2, I get there and I'm like, I hate this. This feels like grueling work. It feels like drudgery. Like it wasn't really giving me what she was saying it gave. And so I put it down because I was like, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not doing this right. And if I can't do it all, then I might as well not even do the program. And so I picked up the program. It's a 12-week program, The Artist's Way, and put it down so many times because I could not get these morning pages. But today I feel so much more free because I realize that everything that works for other people does not work for me. And that's okay. I think as creatives, we look to other people as like to be our guide and our guru. But as creative people, I'm realizing that our guide is often ourselves. Our guide is our spirit. Our guide is our soul. And sometimes our spirit is led to do things that don't actually make any sense. Things that are not formulaic, things that aren't like 1 + 1 = 2. Sometimes 1 + dove = leaf, right? Like that is the creative journey. Like sometimes it doesn't make any sense, but we follow those nudgings. We don't make sense of everything. And to be quite honest, do things have to make sense? I think when we're communicating with other people, we try to make ourselves make as much sense as possible because people have to understand where we're coming from, right? But our creative process is something we hardly ever verbalize, right? It just happens. We feel it. Whatever that feeling is. For me, sometimes it's the inspiration in my chest, the warm feeling. I'm just drawn and driven. by that warm tingly feeling in my chest. Sometimes I'm driven by rage or anger or passion. Sometimes I'm driven by wanting to care for someone else. Like there are so many different ways that I enter into my creative process. And I want to reflect to you that it's okay. Whatever your process is, it's okay. I was talking to my friend Alexis. Shout out to Alexis. We mentioned her before. She's the person who talked about who said everything is compost. Nothing is wasted. Shout out to Alexis. She works at a nonprofit. And one time I was in the park, I was walking and I was driving away and I thought I saw her and I was like, oh, was that Alexis? And I called her. I was like, was that you? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And she said she was working. She said a part of her process is walking in nature, right? Is walking in nature and having like walking meetings with her people. And so we have a very like boxy understanding, especially in the workplace, about how work should look like what work should look like, I should say. Because think about it, as a creative, sometimes your inspiration doesn't come from a formula. Oh, I jump and I hop and I skip and here comes an idea. No, sometimes our ideas come in the shower or while washing dishes or having a conversation with someone or listening to a song or reading a book or playing a video game or sitting outside and just enjoying nature. Like inspiration knows your address. Inspiration knows where you are. And I think for the morning pages for me, right, for other people it might work, but for me it just wasn't working because it felt like I was trying to meet a mark so I can get a checkbox. And anything driven like that for me feels like contraction, feels like restriction, feels like a jail, like feels like I'm in four walls. Like you have to do this thing first or else everything else is not going to work. And so for me, that's stressful. And it doesn't make me feel expansive. It doesn't make me feel free or creative. It makes me feel like I'm doing an assignment for a teacher or something. And I couldn't get it together. I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. Everything else I was reading from her book was amazing. Her writing, the material, the steps, the artist date, all those things felt really beautiful, but the writing, the morning pages just wasn't working for me. To be honest, I don't really have a formula. I think I'm kind of chaotic in my creation. Ideas just come to me and I just like create them. But I understand this about myself. Every day I'm a different person. I am not the same every day. I'm not in the same mood every day. I'm not even working on the same artwork every single day. And so for me to wake up every morning and be like, yes, I'm going to be disciplined and sit down and write these morning pages is not even me. It's not even who Alicia is. That's not how I create. I create in a fever of inspiration, like just like with feverish inspiration, I go off, right? And then I rest for a little bit. And there are things that I can work on in the background, but when I was doing the morning pages, it sucked the life out of me. It took all the energy away from me. It just wasn't working. And so instead of looking at myself like a failure, which I was, because I was like, oh, Julia Cameron is the artist. She's the artist's artist. Like she's the guide. She's the guru. She's the one who knows. And I'm like, oh no, I can't do what she's telling me to do. Then I must not be worthy of this journey, or I'm not doing this journey right. It never occurred to me to look at myself and give myself permission to be who I am and to operate how I operate and to do things how I do things. In America, and especially in the West, like we're taught to follow the guide, to do the thing that everybody says do, to follow the formula, to not stray from the path that is given to us. And so we do this because we think it's the right thing to do. But what if we're missing what we're supposed to create and how we create because we're too busy looking to somebody else? What if we're forcing ourselves to do things how other people say do things because we think it's the right thing to do? But what if the right thing to do is just the thing that you feel called to do in the way that you want to do it? I.e., going out into the woods and walking. For me, that's where I find inspiration. When I'm walking in the woods amongst nature and I'm getting my thoughts going, sometimes I record a podcast. It's something I couldn't have planned or outlined. I just flow, right? Like I can't plan it. It just happens. But if I were to wake up in the morning and take that time to do the morning pages, all my creative energy has gone into this. Why? Because to create takes energy, right? But also to do things you don't want to do takes a lot of energy. It takes more energy than it does to do the thing that you actually want to do. When you're doing the thing you actually want to do, it's like you're flying on inspiration. You got the wind beneath your wings. You're flowing. When you're pushing through something and forcing through something, it takes more energy to get it done, right? Just generally speaking. And so morning pages, I was so resistant to it because I'm like, I'm not going to do this right. I showed up to the page and I was like, I have nothing to say in this form, but I have something I want to say in a song. I have something I want to say in a poem. I have something I want to say in a photograph. Does that not count? And I was saying, oh, this doesn't count because I'm not doing it the way that she told me to do it. And again, this is not to rail on Julia Cameron. Again, I still recommend the artist way. At some point, I want to work through it with other people because I'm used to doing things by myself, and I would love to do it in a community. So, at some point, maybe not right now because I'm resting. Let me relax. I'm always saying, oh, let me do this. I'm always putting on more stuff for me to do. But morning pages didn't work for me, and that didn't mean that I was a failure, and it also didn't mean that Julia Cameron was wrong. This is what works for her, and this is what has worked for her clients. Just because that one part didn't work out for me doesn't mean I have to throw out the whole book. And it also doesn't mean that I'm wrong, nor does it mean that Julia Cameron is wrong. This has obviously been working, right? Like people swear by the morning pages. It just didn't work for me. And that's okay. I think my point is that we're always looking for a shortcut or for someone to have the answer. But the thing is, no one is going to have the answer for you. You have to find the answer and the way for yourself. There are people who can give you tools, right? But it's up to you how you use that tool. Maybe for me, I can't do a morning page every day, but I can do one every week or every month, right? Or I write as I feel inspired. Maybe that's okay too. Or maybe I get through my artist blockages a different way, through dancing, through singing. Singing for me, using my voice and my body feels like medicine to me. When I'm feeling low and I can vocalize my pain, whether I'm speaking or singing a song, I then feel unblocked afterwards, right? For some other people, they need to scribble. They need to run and jump and exercise. Or some people, need to write a poem or do the morning pages. Like whatever works for them works for them. And so even though we've been given these tools, it doesn't mean that we are limited to these tools. Listen to your soul. Your soul knows the way. And I think that's the harder part. Right? That's the harder part, is finding your own way and giving yourself permission to fumble and fall until you find what works for you. And then also understanding that what works for you on Monday might not be the thing that works for you on Tuesday. I've fallen victim to that too. Oh, well, Monday was a wonderful day. If I just recreate what I did on Monday, I'll be okay. Then Tuesday comes, I don't have the energy that I had on Monday. I might be in a different mood, right? Like I might be on my period. There are different things that happen. The day might just get away from me, or there might be something that needs my attention more than that. If I were to judge my days based on this checklist, and if I didn't get these checklist things done, I would count my day as a waste because I wasn't able to recreate what I created on Monday. And that's not helpful to your artistic journey. It's not. It's discouraging, actually. You feel like you're not measuring up. You feel like you're not good enough. When really your soul is calling you in and saying, hey, actually what I need today is a good meal. Actually, what I need today is to talk to our friends. Actually, what I need today is rest, right? But if we're always constantly trying to fit into this box or this bubble or check these boxes that somebody else has pre-made for us, then we're always going to feel like we're falling short or not really touching our own soul. In this creative journey, you have to stay present and listen in. Spirit leads in ways that we can't even predict sometimes. And wanting to recreate that formula sometimes helps us miss what we need to do. It helps us miss what Spirit is saying to us. We're so busy saying, oh, I must do morning pages. And Spirit is saying, I need to go outside. And you're like, not right now, Spirit. Morning pages first, right? Or somebody might say, in order to write the perfect song, it has to have this standard. But your song only has a first verse and a chorus. Could that not also be a song? Could that not also be enough? It's very interesting because art is the one place that you get to decide what you want to create and how you want to create it. But even in art, we are still trying to follow formulas. Even in creativity and creative work, we're trying to follow the footsteps of somebody else, which is not bad. It's not necessarily bad, but I don't want you to lose your own voice and lose your own inspiration trying to follow the formula set before you. I've used this example before, but I think here it really works. So I was thinking about going back to school and, we'll see, maybe not, but I was thinking about going back to school. Why? Because I felt like somebody was creating my path for me. I get fatigued trying to figure out what I'm doing and where I'm going as a full-time artist. I'm exhausted because I'm like, okay, I'm building up this thing that's never been built before. I don't really have anybody I could look up to like that. Like there's no one holding my hand and telling me where to go. There's no rubric. There's no syllabus. You don't really know what you're doing. But when you go to school, someone is telling you, hey, read this book, read these pages, read that chapter. This is what this test is going to be on, right? You can predict the outcomes based on you being able to follow the syllabus or the rubric. In life, it don't work like that, right? Even the basic stuff, the things that people say, oh, just get your degree, get a job, and you'll be good. We know that it's not that simple anymore for a lot of us. You feel me? Like the formula ain't work. It ain't work. We plugged it in. It's not working. And in the art world, it's even more complicated because I want to stay true to my creativity and my craft, but I also want to make money. You feel me? Like I also want to be sustained and fulfilled. I want both. I want to be fulfilled and sustained. And so when you're doing that, it's really hard when you don't have steps to follow. And so we look to other people to be like, okay, who has the course? Who has the video? Who has the book, right? And I will say that those things are very helpful. I have no problem with those things because I do those things too. I buy courses still, but there are some things that I'm learning that even as I'm doing the course, if something doesn't resonate with me, it's okay for me to be like, you know what? I see what you're trying to do, but that's not for me. That might be for you or for them, but I tried that and it doesn't work. Instead of forcing myself to do what somebody else says that I should do in my creative walk. I think because I kept hearing people talk about it and saying how much it changed their lives and how it worked for them, I thought that something was deficient within me. That maybe like, oh, maybe there's something missing in me. Maybe it's not working. Maybe this is not for me at all. But it's like, no, it's okay to acknowledge that that works for them. And what works for me works for me. I think I just stopped forcing it. I stopped forcing things to work out how I thought they should work out, because at the end of the day, yeah, it may have worked out, but now I'm tired, I'm depleted. I have no energy to create what I really want to create. Sometimes my morning routine, even that morning routine, I don't even have one. Beyond flossing, brushing my teeth, washing my face, I need to start moving my body first thing in the morning. But even that, sometimes I move my body in the afternoon, right? Again, these shoulds, I should do this, or this person says this, right? Those kind of things trips us up. Those kinds of things trip us up. It makes us feel like there is a syllabus that we're not doing right, or there's like this formula we're not doing right. And we're so wrapped up in that because we want success. We want to be like the person who is giving us this advice. We look up to them, which is not a bad thing, but I really want you to start listening into yourself, even as I'm giving you advice. Okay. This is advice that works for me. Like I said, my advice is not exhaustive. My advice contradicts itself sometimes. There is no formula. I am changing every day. I am learning new stuff about myself and the world around me every single day. So what I share is not going to be the same all the time. Don't get caught up on my words denying yourself or putting yourself down or saying that what your body or what your spirit is asking you to do is not enough. Don't ever do that. Don't ever put me above your own soul. Please don't do that. Listen in, quiet down and listen in. Honor your heart and soul and what they need and what they are asking you for. You're looking for a shortcut like all of us are, but the journey is on your own. Join the journey and adventure of creativity. That's how you find your voice, right? Like you might start off with an artist way and maybe halfway through you realize, actually, I want to do something else. I want to pivot. It's okay. It's okay to pivot. Maybe at some point you realize, oh, you know what? I'm actually done with this podcast. I don't want to listen to this anymore. I'm going to listen to myself. That's also okay. I will miss you. I'll be here, but like, I want you to create the work that you were put here to create. I want you to create the work in the way that you create the work that the world wants to see. I want to see it. I had to teach myself to stop fashioning myself after other people because I look for someone to tell me that I'm doing the right thing, but sometimes I got to figure it out on my own. Again, morning pages don't work for me all the time. Sometimes I wake up with a question or a thought or inspiration, and morning pages just take the energy away when I'm pushing through, and I hate pushing through. I want to flow. I felt like a failure when I couldn't muscle through and ended up feeling like I was just doing creativity wrong, right? And Julia Cameron just provided one way out of a million ways that aid others in their own creative process. Julia Cameron's way works for her and the people that she has touched and for the people that it works for. There are other ways that people get in touch with their creativity or get back in touch with their child self. Some people go to the park and swing. Some people eat some ice cream. There are other ways to get back in touch with your child self to feel safe enough to create. And so maybe it works for someone, but it didn't work for me all the time. I love the morning pages. I love the idea of getting everything out of my head and onto paper, but I was just looking for others to show me the way. When I'm my own guide, I am my own guide. I know what's best for me. And the thing is, like, this culture teaches us and tells us to fear ourselves and to not trust ourselves. It teaches us that we are untrustworthy. And so we start to question our own inspiration. Spirit is speaking. Our soul is speaking. Our spirit knows. Our soul knows what it needs to do, what it needs from us, just like our body knows. There are times when my body is saying to me, hey, I need some resistance. So I do some push-ups. My body is saying, hey, I need some resistance. I need some pressure on this joint. I need to stretch this part of my body. My body knows what it needs, but I need to listen to my body so that I can do what my body needs. I feel like it's the same way for our inspiration. The inspiration is telling you what to do. Follow that path. Listen to this podcast, right? Read that book. Look at that line that stands out to you. Can you write a poem about that line? There is no formula. There is no magic trick, right? That's the beautiful and scary, very scary, but beautiful thing about creativity. You get to create whatever you want in whatever way that you want to, as long as it doesn't infringe upon other people or hurt them. You're a creative. You're in one of those rare professions or rare niches where you get to do whatever you want. And I know for some people, they're like, you get to do whatever you want. And we also know as creatives, that's terrifying, because there's no way that we know that whatever we want to do is going to be successful. There's no way to know that except to do it and to see. And you know me, my theory, my philosophy is like, there is no failure. There are only lessons. Okay. There is no failure. There are only lessons. There are things that we can control, and there are things that we cannot control. How many people listen to this podcast? Cannot control. How many people see the video? Can't control. But what I can control is how I create and what I want to create and what I want to put out in the world. I focus on those things because those things bring me joy, not trying to follow a formula that might not work for me. Because if I'm always betting on this formula to always work, I'm always going to feel like I'm not enough. I'm always going to feel like I missed something, or, I'm doing it wrong. There is no wrong way to do creativity. You do you. You do it your own way. I don't think we give ourselves enough credit as creatives. We're always looking for other people to tell us that we're enough, that we're good enough, especially like in the age of technology, social media, almost instant, immediately. We know whether people like or don't like our stuff. People can leave comments, people can leave likes and dislikes, and our views, our count number shows us like, oh, what we created wasn't good enough. And so we're always judging our work too early. We're always judging our work, always. I don't want you to bring that judgment into your creative process. There are things that you cannot control. Don't kill your dream trying to follow in the footsteps of somebody else before it even gets to see the light of day. You know what I mean? We're looking to others for the way when we are often our own guide. Listen in. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. When you were a kid, you ain't need nobody to tell you how to create. Maybe you needed somebody to show you how to use the scissors, or again, tools, right? Maybe you needed somebody to take the tops off the markers, but you knew how to create. You didn't need other people's prompting or guidance. You just did it. You did it because you believed in yourself and you listened to that spirit that was within you. Draw a house right here. I'm gonna put the sun over here. I'm gonna make the grass blue. I'm gonna make the sky green. You created whatever you wanted to create. You still have that freedom today. I think as we age, we become more risk averse because we need things to work out. We feel like this has to work, as if it doesn't work out, it means that we are failures and that everything we did is a waste. You know what I mean? Where children have that like childlike play where they're like, I just do what I want. I'm not doing this for your approval. I'm doing this because it made me happy. Let's get back to that. Let's get back to doing stuff because it makes us happy. We often feel like we are not reliable sources. We've been so indoctrinated with capitalism, we think we must be creatively productive or else we're going to get in trouble. If this doesn't get views, if this doesn't get likes, if nobody buys this, right, then it has no value. If somebody else doesn't validate us, then it has no value. You have value. Everything is creation and everything feeds our creative process. We are creative beings. You wake up in the morning, you put on clothes, that's creativity. You make your breakfast, that's creativity. You walk out the door and you drive to work. That's creativity. It takes creativity to live. Just because your stuff is not being consumed by somebody else does not mean that it's not valuable. Just because you're doing things your way does not mean you're doing it wrong. There is no way to do your art, to make your art wrong. Long story short, morning pages didn't work for me. And it's not to say that it's a failure. It's a tool. It's a tool that didn't work for me at the time. And maybe I don't need to use that tool every day, right? Maybe my tool is reading. Maybe my tool is meditation. Maybe my tool is singing along to songs instead of creating something new, getting in the flow of creativity, using other people's footsteps that way. And then from singing a song that I'm singing along to, I like a melody and I can create my own song from that thing. Maybe that's my process. Maybe your process is walking out in nature. Maybe it's going to work. Maybe it's driving. Maybe it's taking a shower. Maybe it's soaking in a bath, right? But whatever your process is, it's valid. You're allowed to do whatever you want to do as long as it doesn't infringe on anyone else and as long as it doesn't harm anyone else. And I love that those are the parameters, right? Because then the world literally is your oyster. You can do whatever you want to do. You can make things out of whatever you want to make. There are no rules. And that's something that I'm learning in creativity. There are no rules. There is no wrong way or right way to do something. Even when we take these art classes in school, right? They are tools. They're saying, hey, this is how people usually use this. This is how people usually do this thing. But at the end of the day, you low key get to do whatever you want to do. High key. You get to do whatever you want to do. Now, I get trying to do the stuff to literally pass a class. I understand if there's literally a rubric. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about in your real life, in your day-to-day. If you want to paint with mud, do that. If you want to take leaves and make, I don't know, make something out of it, do it. I'm looking out the window, so nature is what I see. But yeah, like, you're allowed to create what you want in whatever way you want to create it. That's the beauty of being an artist. You are free. You are free. You're not in school. We have to unlearn that school mentality because that's what school teaches us to do. Just go along with the program. Do what we're told. Don't disobey. Don't ask questions. Don't rely on yourself. Don't depend on yourself and your own unctions, your own guidance. Don't listen to your spirit. All that stuff is taken away from us, especially in school in the West. We have to rediscover what it means to hear that voice and to listen to it and to trust it. We have to relearn to trust ourselves. And so in order to trust ourselves, we have to go the hard way, which is really just like trusting ourselves into practice, following that unction you get in your chest, following that inspiration, that curiosity, Googling that question, going to the paint store and being like, you know what, I'm gonna buy this color and that color and see what I make. Literally starting from scratch, being a child again, finger painting, do whatever you need to do to get back in touch with you as an artist, your vision, your process, your art. I believe in you. I believe in you and I want you to believe in yourself. I want to believe in myself. It's easier said than done, especially in the world with all the noise. Everybody's telling you which way to go, what to do. Try something for me, okay? Try something for me for a day. Unplug. Don't listen to any creative podcasts. Don't read the book. Just for a day, okay? Or maybe just an hour. Sit with yourself and write down like what calls to you. Take a shower. Take your mind completely off of creativity. Go for a walk. And listen to what pops up for you. Try different exercises to get your mind moving and your creativity flowing. All of them are valid. The morning pages are valid. The art walk, the nature walk is valid. The going to the museum is valid. The taking the shower is valid. The dancing and singing along to music is valid. All of it is valid. All of it is valid. But what works for you? That's the question we're asking. So I hope this episode was helpful. You know, like I said, I don't have any solutions. And I love that. I love that I'm in this place where I'm just kind of like open and flowing and allowing my creativity to pull me and guide me to wherever I go. I love that for me right now. I love that I don't necessarily know what I'm doing. And I love that I have the privilege to be able to do that. And I want you to give yourself that privilege, give yourself that permission. You're never going to get it from other people. You have to give it to yourself. So yes, that's what I'm learning. Your way is your way and your way is valid, honey. Okay. So keep creating. What you create matters. What you make matters, and how you create matters, because I want it to be a joyful experience for you. If you're not having fun, what's the point? You're in a creative field where you get to do whatever you want. Your creative process does not have to be drudgery. What you create doesn't have to be drudgery. Maybe it's a season for you to change mediums altogether. Trust yourself, trust spirit, because spirit is not going to fail you. Spirit is going to bring you into more creativity, more fun, more passion, more interesting things, more wisdom, more pleasure. Why can't your creative process be a pleasurable one? Who says it has to be hard? Who says it has to be difficult? There are already things that are difficult about the creative process that you don't need to add any more difficulty, okay? It's already difficult. Don't add more difficulty. Have fun. Enjoy yourself. You get one life. And because you get to create something, let it be joyous. Let it be splendid. Let it be fun, okay? So thank you all for listening. Again, I still very much stand the artist way. It's just the morning pages didn't work for me. And I still think there are gems in there that I'm able to get from there. Maybe we'll do a podcast episode about that. Maybe that'll be fun. Again, giving myself more things to do. Let me relax. But I hope that you were able to get something from this. If just permission, then I've done my job. You're allowed to do things your way, okay? You are your own guide. Your spirit is in you, speaking to you at all times. Listen in, get quiet, and trust. Okay, so keep creating things. What you create matters. We need it. We need you. We need your art. And I will talk to you all in the next episode.